Look at me. I'm not the smartest guy in the
Austin.
Hey.
We don't break each other down here. We lift each other up.
That is so not true.
You dummy.
I know the cameras are on, but you guys were busting me as soon as I sat down.
It's hard to know who said what, or I mean,
it's hearsay at this point. Yeah.
So this segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Leupold, American to the core.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast, powered by DeerCast, episode number 199.
And you didn't stop. You just knocked off Austin Land's hat. Clear to the ground. Never stopped.
Shots fired.
We were talking. Okay, so first of all, you're Tim Chelsvik. I'm Matt Drury. We got Austin Land.
But from here on out, you guys can refer to me as Dragon.
Dragon. All right.
Well, that's going to screw up the whole title for the show. The title for the show was It's All About Land.
Well,
and it was going to trick people into thinking we were talking about land management.
No, I think it'd be even better if it was all about dragon. People would be like, what?
We're reformatting the show.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about cryptozoology.
So we were talking off camera here, and I said, now, Austin, you better be ready to get with it here. And he goes, from here on out, call me Dragon.
He said it dead-faced.
Yeah. And Tim, what'd you say?
I want to be called Ramjet.
All right. I said,
that's
all right,
cool.
I'm Cat Fury because Matt Drury, get it?
That's just how we roll.
That's how we roll. Mine's not cool.
It just concerns me that we all had nicknames on the tip of our tongue ready to roll.
Oh, yeah. That was actually, what do they call that when you like write under a different name?
Pseudonym?
That was my pseudonym in college, Cat Fury. On basically like message boards and stuff like that. A lot of havoc was wreaked by Matt Fury, Cat Fury.
Lighting people up on Missouri bow hunters and
No. Nothing to do with hunting. I wasn't into that in college. It was more recreational activities.
Okay. Like cycling and
something like that.
RC helicopters.
We'll just go with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're excited to have Austin on with us. It's one of those guests like having Wade on, or I feel like the audience has been wanting us to get him on. And during the season, you're so freaking busy between guiding out west, for elk and mule deer and antelope, and then coming to Texas and guiding there once your kind of season out west is over. You basically don't stop until February.
Yeah.
So we never get Austin. And then he gets back into Turkey, like right out, what, March, April?
Yeah, end of March, 1st April.
Yeah. So we had a short window. Taylor and Austin are in town here for a few days. We had a shoot that we just did and had a thing over our first farm this past weekend. So we thought,
butts kicked.
While we got Austin in town, let's get him on the podcast.
Well, let's do this. Thanks for having me on, guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah, buddy.
We typically, when we have guests on, they start talking about difficult or embarrassing hygiene issues they had in junior high. So we'll just open the floor and let you.
All right, I'll open it right up. I'll be vulnerable. My brothers used to call me RC for rotten chicken because I had terrible BO when I was a kid.
Boy, this got real. You didn't have to do that, but thank you.
I'm not worried about it.
I think we just became best friends.
Perfect.
Oh, you were rotten chicken as well.
Well, chili hot dogs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving along.
People listen to this show.
Couple anyways.
Surprisingly. And every now and again, they give us feedback on this show. So let's hop into our shout-outs.
I'm going to jump in right now. This guy, Paulinier, he says, I'm loving all the stepbrother quotes in the podcast. Hold it. I got one.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
Now, it's hilarious when a guest doesn't get them. Ha ha. Now, I didn't understand that part because I feel like all of our guests get a good stepbrothers quote.
Sometimes if you watch closely the reaction of our guests when we say things, sometimes they just smile awkwardly, like they're not quite sure what exactly.
How did I get
Show
on
a
this?
lot of teeth and just try to grin and get through it because they don't know. Are they stupid?
Why?
Or is that really funny? Like, what should I do here?
Why did I agree to do this?
Exactly. This seems like a giant waste of time.
Here's the deal. So I can get just about any guest in our industry that I want to get because of the good name that Mark and Terry have built for Drury Outdoors. Once we get them on the podcast, we try to break it down a notch or two to our dumb stepbrothers humor.
And most people, I think, internally are thinking, Where's Mark and Terry?
Yeah,
Like, who are these guys?
I thought the Drury brothers were on this podcast.
I've been hoodwinked.
That's what you get for not doing your homework.
in your face, guests. So that'll teach you for hopping
CEO.
on. Yeah, poor Bruce Pettit. He's like a real guest. And then Cameron Dowd is a major podcaster, and he commented on DeerCast regarding our Analogics podcast. He says, nailed it again, guys. Love the info and how good you are at managing the herd. I assume he's talking about me. It's too bad it's not legal in Illinois, but we do the best we can with what we can. It's sad that it's not legal to try to improve your deer herd.
It is. That was one of the takeaways that I saw just kind of looking over some of the comments from the podcast, whether it was on DeerCast or on YouTube or whatever. Quite a few people were saying like, yeah, it's a shame that we can't do it. I think PA was another one of those states that somebody said that. I was like, I knew Illinois couldn't, but man, I mean, it does seem really counterintuitive. I get the whole CWD approach that I get why they say that. I don't necessarily agree with it or understand it, but it just seems odd to me that you can't try to improve your herd or your health, especially over like the last couple of weeks when it was so cold, like sub-zero temps for long extended periods, a bunch of snow. Like, I mean, don't you want the resource to have the best chance it can at surviving? That's kind of the way I look at it.
Me, or is that rhetorical?
That's rhetorical, Tim.
Gotcha.
Just
spell rhetorical.
Smile with big teeth and nod.
Yes, I would.
Yes. All right.
It seems like some of these states, and I don't want to get political here, but their COVID regulations mirror their deer management practices.
So the deer, you're telling me the deer have to wear masks?
That's actually, you imagine how little
they couldn't spread CWD.
How little CWD would spread if they. I got something.
Write it down. Write that down, and I want credit.
Masks for
deer. Boom.
Spell 4 with a number 4.
Add a boom at the end.
Okay.
With an exclamation
Legion
point.
of.
There you go. So
Underline.
Austin, this is the podcast.
Sorry.
Well, I'm very interested already. You guys are great together. You guys are really
peanut butter
back
and jelly.
And forth. Maybe try and include me a little bit more opposed to looking at each other.
Well, okay.
How about that? You want in? Now you're in.
Perfect.
To tease the question of the day a little later in the show, we've got a question that's teed up directly for you because it's talking about a guy that wants to transition his whitetail hunting tactics.
I'd like to know what this last name of this guy is because his first name is mine and his hometown is mine. So, and this is not my question. So I look for, unless it is, I don't know.
Did you record it?
That's a tease.
Hello, this is Cat Drury. Love the show, guys.
Cat Fury.
Cat Fury.
I'm furious.
Get it right.
You
Fury of the
crappy
paw.
nickname.
That's not a crappy nickname. Take it back.
You're going to get cat breath.
All right.
Okay, Austin.
I'm going to tear up your sheets and poop in your pillow.
Jeez.
All right, Austin, this is it.
All right, let's hear the question.
No, we haven't got to that yet. That's later in the show. I mean, don't you listen to the podcast?
I do listen to the podcast, but I feel like
I don't believe you.
that's rude.
Well,
And true.
And true.
you sounded surprised by the soundboard. I mean,
I'm curious what it's like to have Mark Drury as a father-in-law.
It's a double-edged sword. It's
we're going
Shots
right
fired.
there.
Shots fired.
That's right.
You know, he's relentless in the fact that he'll always stay on you. He's always finding your vulnerable spots. But
I've never noticed
he's also going to pick you up and help you any way he can. So it's been a true blessing to have Mark as a father-in-law.
Yeah.
And he's pushed me to go do things that I never thought I would. I always thought I was
Marry his daughter.
Marry his daughter, yep. With a no return policy. That was right on the receipt the day of the wedding. But I always thought I was going to be a guide my whole life, you know, and through the last 5 years, it's slowly grown into, yes, I've still stayed in the outdoors, but my resume is starting to grow into something bigger and better than ever. And I owe a lot of that to Mark.
Sweet.
So why did you think that you would be a guide the rest of your life?
Just what I know, what I love to do. And I mean, look at me. I'm not the smartest guy in the tool
Austin.
shed,
Hey.
We don't break each other down here. We lift each other up.
That is so not true.
You dummy.
I know the cameras are on, but you guys were busting me as soon as I said it.
It's hard to know who said what, or I mean,
it's hearsay at this
Well,
point, yeah.
so I mean, for those that may not already know this, which I'm sure probably would be a small percentage, but Austin's family owns and operates a guide service in the state of Utah, and then you also do some stuff in Texas, and Correct. You had done some stuff in Oklahoma, and it's a major operation. Maybe take us a little bit into what you guys do there, and kind of the resources that you're managing, and a little bit of the backstory there to the family business.
Okay, yeah. So Dad started Wild Country Outfitters in Utah in 91, so the year prior to me being born. So I was kind of born and raised into that world. And he manages, it started out then about 200,000 acres, and now it's up to about 237,000 acres in the state of Utah. Wow. And I got 3 brothers that are in the family business, and it's very fair in Mom's saying, everybody gets an equal amount of what you bring into the business. And so what I tried to do is then expand over to Texas just to kind of keep growing the business. And basically that word Dad kept telling me, expand, expand, expand. That's what we do. We want to always stay at the top of our game. And he's always pushed that, whether it's, harvesting the best quality animals, or when people show up, they have the best experience. It's not always about the destination. It's about the journey. That's what he preaches all the time. But we've got to the point where we harvest roughly 750 to 800 animals a year in the state of Utah, and then another 100 or so down in the state of Texas.
And that's, the resource, it's unbelievable there in Utah. I've not been to the Texas spot, but it's so beautiful everywhere you go. I mean, it's truly untouched, especially when you're talking that many acres. I mean, it is truly an untouched habitat, and you guys got to work really hard to make sure that you're managing the resource, that you do some stuff with, I guess the state does some stuff with the public where Correct. They have a chance to draw a tag, right? And you take so many public land hunters as well. Is that correct?
Yep. So we're part of a CWMU, a Cooperative Wildlife Management Unit. And so being said with that is we get our 90-day elk season and our 70-day deer season, and that's any legal weapon. But in return, we then have to give public opportunity. So we're given 10% of our tags each year back to a state draw, and then they get the same opportunities the paid clients get. Huh. We bring them in, they stay in our lodges, we feed them, we guide them, we do the whole 9 yards with them. So
that's pretty cool. That's got to be like hitting a jackpot for somebody, because it's obviously it's the way that you guys run your outfitter is a little bit different from, say, going to the state of Missouri, going to a Whitetail outfitter. It's, you guys will have like a business will come in or a client will come in and they'll purchase X amount of tags, kind of like a club almost, right?
Exactly like a club. So they're buying into a corporate lease package or a membership, and very rarely does anybody that's buying the tags actually hunt. They're bringing in their customers, their clients, the people that they want to say thanks to. And that's where we come in. We got to make sure that we're taking care of their people that are paying lots of money. That's our job, to take care of the guys that are spending money with our partners.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty phenomenal. I mean, it's just, and they take great care of you. The lodge is awesome. It's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you're driving for a ways to get up into the mountain and get where the lodge is, but the scenery, I mean, everything. The first night, because I had a chance to go a couple years ago, I think it was back in 2017 or so. And Bruce Pettit from Leupold had invited me. We talked about it on the podcast. Well, when we went that first day, Austin Mickles, he took Trevor and I up, and we went and just kind of get acclimated with the terrain. And, it was just like everywhere you heard there was a bugle and it was another herd, and it was just so cool. It was one of the coolest moments of my life going to there.
What's the elevation like out there? Like, is a Midwestern guy going to have to acclimate?
Yes, you'll have to acclimate. Our lodge sits about 7,200 feet. When you're deer hunting, antelope hunting, you're anywhere from 5 to 6,500 feet, and you can elk hunt up to, I think there was times you were up close to 9,000 feet.
Yeah.
We don't have super high country stuff, so you're not gonna get above 10,000 feet. Even when I get above 10,000 feet, there's times that I feel the altitude. But it usually takes everybody a day or two of walking around, and you take it easy the first couple of days, get your lungs and your mind acclimated. acclimated. And once you get going, there's so many elk bugling everywhere. You kind of just forget about your lungs hurting and you just keep going.
Yeah,
that first night I woke up with a headache, for sure. Woke up with a headache in the middle of the night and kind of nauseous feeling and just couldn't get over it until like into the next day in the hunt, and kind of you're moving around and getting used to it. But for sure it hit me that first, like right out of the gate that night. But it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Well, I mean, you stay hydrated. That's the biggest key. You know, hydrate. It's just like doing anything that's going to exert your body. Hydrate the day before, stay hydrated while you're doing it.
Yeah. Eat pasta.
Eat lots of pasta. And that's one thing our cooks don't. They don't cut out any carbs for the 3 meals that
it's
we
5-star.
Imagine.
It is awesome. Yeah.
But you probably burn off most of it because you're out there.
Yeah. That was the thing. So they put me with their oldest guide. I had like 5 days heads up before I went on the trip. So there was no training. There was no, you know what I mean, getting ready for it. And they put me with Ammo. This guy is awesome. I mean, he was old rodeo guy. So was he
so he
rodeo clown?
He was a bull rider for a while, then he was a bullfighter for a little while. He's still in the Forest Service as a firefighter. And now he raises bulls, but yeah, he looks the part, don't he? With
big handlebar mustache, and he, I don't know what his age, but he seems like maybe he was older than his actual driver's license said, or I don't know. Like that's the mentality. I was like, this guy, I don't know, like this kind of like.
It's not about the year of the truck; it's the miles on the truck.
He's had some miles, and he could outwork anybody. I mean, he was awesome. Yeah. He was really it was entertainment the whole time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so, I've known Amos since I could remember life. He's been working for Dad for 30 years now.
And did he have a competing guide service there back in the day? Is that kind of how?
Yep. So when they first started, the ranch had an outfit, and then Dad had his outfit, and then Bucks and Bulls was also a part of that outfit as well. So there was 3 different outfits on the property. And then in 2011, that back then they just sold individual tags to whoever wanted to buy a tag could come hunt. They bought tags and they killed tons more animals too. And age structure didn't matter. I mean, if it was a 180-inch 3-year-old, they were going to shoot it if they liked it. And finally the ranch came and said, hey, this is what we want. We want corporate leases. We want you to start managing for this age structure. And that's when the ranch pulled out with their outfitting business, and they offered it to Dad and the other guys. And the other guys said, there's no way that's going to work. That's not our gig. We're out. And so then they turned to Dad and said, well, do you want the whole thing? And he said, why not? Let's do this. So,
awesome.
Yeah, that was back in 2011.
And you guys have a really good clientele too that you've built up, and some leases come and go, and partners come and go, but you always have a stable of really high quality people from the industry and even outside of our industry. I mean, some of the other areas that you play within, whether it's the oil world or trucking or whatever the case may be, it's amazing the clientele that you guys have.
Yep, and the turnover rate, it's always going to be there, just like anything. But we've created that core group of partners that make the world go around and make our operation tick. And it's that family based foundation that every company needs to be solid. So it's been good.
I'm always curious because you're with, like, when you personally guide someone, you're with them for a good chunk of time. They've got a lethal weapon in their hand. You're in remote settings. What are some of the weird things that you've seen people do or behave?
I probably can't say much of that.
You guys don't allow the hunter to actually rack around until it's the moment of truth. I mean, they have some pretty strict policies around that to ensure safety, and maybe dive into that.
Yeah. So when we get in the trucks, muzzles are down, chambers are open. There's nothing going. We can put bullets in the magazine, because when you're deer hunting, you never know when you're come across something that's close to the road and you got to get out, and you don't have time to fumble around and load your magazine, but you always have time to load your chamber. And if you don't have time, probably 10, 15 minutes later, you'll probably have another opportunity and you will have time. So that's our biggest thing is, if you don't have time to load your gun, it wasn't meant to be, and just keep hunting. So that's our biggest thing is we never have a round in the chamber until we're sat down there in front of us. We're pointing at the correct animal, and then we say, go ahead, load around.
It was like 3 or 4 days until my first opportunity. And when Ammo was like, all right, get ready, I was like, Rock going in.
Gonna do something.
Actually going to shoot something. It's like, but we had so many opportunities leading up to that. It was just wasn't part of the age class, or they were very specific in their management. It's like hunting at Mark's or Terry's, or they're very specific in what they were going after, which is why the resource is so good, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the thing that stood out to me so much.
If someone's never hired and never used an outfitter before, like how do they get the most out of you in terms of the total experience? Because you always hear like, don't guide the guide. What are the things people should avoid doing?
Don't guide the guide. No, it's our job to have that killer instinct for the hunter. And some hunters come in and they have it, and some don't. But that's in the moment of truth. Every situation's so different. And me being in those positions all the time, I may have not been in that particular position before, but I know how to react to some of those situations to where maybe a deer stands up and he's not in the right spot. Some guy might draw back all of a sudden and he'll look at you, and the deer will look at you and they blow out. You got to make sure it's okay. He's in a spot that I can kill him. Now I'll draw, or his head's behind him. But just like you guys are in a tree or in a blind, you're not going to draw when the deer is head up alert. Right. And that's the biggest thing is trusting your guide. There's going to be times you can question your guide and say, well, should we do this? Because we're such in a routine that we might overlook, and we might be tunnel vision on this elk over here. And all of a sudden 2 or 3 pop over there. So just always stay in their hip pockets. Never separate yourself from the guides. And that's our job too, is never separate ourselves from the hunters, because we can't kill the animal without you guys. Mm-hmm. You guys could kill animal without us, but it might be the wrong animal. So always stay right next to your guide. Never let that separation happen. Always stay in their back pocket.
And realistically, you are right there. The word guide is the perfect word for this, because you're right there almost hand in hand the whole way, and if the hunter's getting tired, all right, kind of sit back, take a break. You got to know, I guess, when you're pushing your guy too far as well, because some of the terrain, especially that you and like your brothers you're all really, in good shape, and you're going in and out of some really kind of tough terrain.
Right.
You got to know, I guess, when you're pushing your guy too much too. I mean, do you ever find that where you're like, you kind of sense it, and it's like, all right, maybe we sit tight and we glass for a minute here.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's times it's like, okay, let's just hold up here. We'll snack, we'll fuel up, we'll drink some water. But there's also times where you got to know your hunter. Is this guy really mentally tough to where we have to go and keep going? That's the way we're going to get the opportunity. Or, okay, if I keep going, we're going to kill this guy. And if we do get an opportunity, he's going to be so shot, he's not going to be able to function at full performance. So you just got to know your hunter. And there is times we're going to take breaks, but there's also times I'm going to be holding you by your front collar, pulling you up the hill, saying, we got to go.
Yeah. Yeah. To prepare for something like this, what's your, what would you would tell somebody like, hey, okay, you in the weeks or months leading into the hunt, do this amount of miles a day, or this kind of incline or ruck, with so much on your pack, like, or do you guys kind of have something that you send out to your client ahead of time and say, this is what to be prepared for?
Not really. I wish we did.
Get with it.
But there's really there's no way to get into elk shape besides chasing elk, because most people are coming from the Midwest or the East where they don't have mountains. They're not going to be able to go throw a pack on and get up to 7,000 feet and hike. They have come out with those masks that restrict you from breathing, that cut your airflow off. That would be a good thing to do. And then just walk, be physically active, because you're going to get tested. And that's the biggest thing. Maybe do some HIIT workouts, high intensity stuff to where your heart's going, and then pick up your bow or pick up your rifle and shoot. If you're sitting at the gun range, do 10 push-ups or 20 push-ups, and then get up, hurry, and make a quick shot, just so you're prepared. My heart's already going. You can't practice that adrenaline, but you can practice the heartbeat going and quick situations and force yourself to be prepared.
Yeah.
That has to be maddening to go out west, on the hunt of a lifetime, and then just not have enough gas in the tank to do it.
Yeah. And then, that's all in the person, like you had 5 days to prepare. So that's obviously, that was kind of like, hey, you're going out west.
Yeah.
Most of these people know by springtime if they're coming.
Sure.
So yeah, just get out and get prepared. almost all outfitters in a good economy like it is right now, we're booked up by January, February. And so 7-8 months beforehand when you're going. So just get out and prepare yourself.
So, you've had a chance to guide some really interesting people and some celebrities and, and from Hollywood to, to the sports world to, industry people. What was some of the coolest things coolest people you've been able to meet over the years?
Bruce Pettit was one of them. I mean, he was a very interesting person to meet. I had never met Bruce. His first time actually was with us in Oklahoma, and Bruce is very intense. And so I like that. When you get out hunting, you get it. I'm an intense hunter too. And Mark can attest to that. When we hunted together, he could sense my intensity a couple times. Getting a little testy. But I also love hunting with people and kids that had never hunted before.
Sure.
To share that experience with them, to teach them. It's not often that I know more than somebody. And when it's an amateur hunter or somebody that's never hunted before, it's always fun to teach them what I've learned over the years. But I'd have to say some of my funnest hunters are always the people that have never hunted before.
That's cool.
The green people are the funnest to hunt with.
So easiest, as far as easiest to teach, child, female, guy. I mean, I kind of have my notion behind what the easiest might be, but what?
Yeah, female.
That's what I've always heard.
Best shots as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids they just mentally, sometimes they check out. Yeah. Females always want to be perfectionists, and adults, and me being younger, and especially when I first started, when I was 19, I had zero respect from older guys. When I would tell them something to do, they'd be like, who's this kid telling me what to do?
So that the long hair.
It was probably the long hair. I started with short hair. I just grew it out. Yeah. I had to fit the part. I couldn't grow a facial hair like Amos, so I had to grow my hair out.
Yeah, there you go.
Guys in general, we're just bad about asking for directions, asking for help, listening. Yeah. Cause it's also you got to swallow your pride a little bit. You got to be open and humble enough to recognize, well, this guy lives and breathes this stuff. So I might as well learn from his experience. But that, that's not an easy thing to do for guys.
Yeah. Much easier said than done.
100%. Yeah. And especially in the hunting world, the last thing someone that is a hunter wants is advice or tips or whatever.
I think one of the funnest things out at your place was hitting the range. How long is that range you guys have?
1,700 yards is our furthest.
Wow. I've never been able to go somewhere and shoot past a couple hundred realistically. We're always at the farm or whatever. So that was really interesting to me to be able to, shoot something and then a second later, you'd hear it.
How does that translate into is it a mile?
A mile is what, 1756 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know exactly what it is.
Speaking of guys,
but it's somewhere right around there. So that's about a mile. And dang, we just set up a new range.
It was fun.
So we set up a new range that's down kind of by the fish ponds. I don't know if you ever went down out east down there, but it's more in the flat country, and you can shoot anywhere from 100, 200, 300. Every 100 yards, it goes out all the way to 1,700 yards now.
That's cool. Yeah, it was neat because they had, I guess maybe every once in a while you guys go and repaint the metal or whatever. Yep. And so when you hit it, not only would you'd hear it, but then you'd see, because we filmed all that, you'd be able to see something kind of
that's cool,
happen when you hit it. Yeah, it was neat. It was a neat experience.
Yeah. And just the shooting aspect, like you said, it's fun to go listen to the gong ring.
Yeah.
And
ring the gong.
Love to. I noticed in your
where's that noise?
I don't have it.
The rim shot. In your social, I see every now and again fly fishing pictures.
Right.
I'm a fly fisherman, and the trout you guys have out there look nuts. So rainbows.
We got rainbows in our ponds, and then in all of our streams, it's native cutthroats.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we have
any browns.
We don't have any browns. No.
Okay.
So we have 13 miles of stream. That's just high country mountain streams that have all the cutthroats in them, and then we have a couple ponds that, way back before I was around, they went and dug these ponds into these streams to where they had big beaver dams, if you will. Sure. And there's big native cutthroats in there. Those are fun. And not many people get to hunt them because they're right in the center of, we have 42,000 acres of roadless. And that's where we do the majority of our elk hunting. So Dad doesn't want people walking around fishing, putting our scent all over the place. So that's the honey hole that, you know, I maybe fish. I've taken Taylor there once. I've been there probably 3 or 4 times to fish it. So it's pretty
sounds
remote.
Magical.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. And then we do have our big ponds that, you know, we'll do our guided trips and that kind of stuff on it. We've been putting windmill aerators on there, trying to keep those fish to hold over for the years. Just the ice is crushing them and suffocating them through the winter. But this winter hasn't been bad. It's been pretty mild out there, you know, and those windmills sit there and pump oxygen through the water, and they keep a hole maybe 10 by 10 in diameter around open. So.
Well, how about we help our buddy Matt from Bloomsdale with this week's question of the day?
Yeah, let's jump into it. So the question of the day is brought to you by Tenzing Packs. Go further, hunt longer, Tenzing.
Hi, my name is Matt Herman from Bloomsdale, Missouri. And my question is I'm planning a hunt for a do-it-yourself archery hunt in Colorado this year. I'm putting in for a mule deer tag, but if I don't get a mule deer tag, then I'll buy an elk tag. My big question is there any major things to look for? I know you guys are big whitetail hunters and stuff, but I'm trying to figure out what to look for. Can I use the same strategies that I use for hunting whitetails here in Bloomsdale and these rolling hills and stuff? Can I incorporate what I know from whitetail into elk? I know there are a lot of different deer and stuff, but like, you know, their trail patterns and stuff like that. I didn't know if I could relate to whitetail with them. Thanks. Bye.
So it was an actual Matt.
It was an actual Matt. I don't know him.
Let's see if I can get his last name.
Please do.
Maybe
I probably would know him. There's only 400 people in that town.
Yeah, it's a pretty small place.
Probably.
We were just there yesterday.
That's right. That's right. It's a question I've wondered about, like how much transference is there between whitetail hunting and then heading out west for elk?
Actually, they're very similar. Other than once they start rutting, they're getting a harem of cow as opposed to locking down with one. But you all of a sudden, like especially early in the season, you'll see a bull grab a cow and they disappear. You know, there's still 10 bulls and 50 cows in the meadow, but the big bull, the mature bull, whether he's the biggest racked or not, the most mature bull is going to go grab one cow when she goes into heat and he's going to take her off. One thing I've noticed that's translated into elk from whitetail is their rubs and their scrapes. Very similar. Elk will go, it's almost like a dusting. They'll get into a big dust bowl and start rubbing their antlers all over in it and flinging dirt around. Also with their rubs on the antlers or on the trees, they hit the same ones very frequently. You know, so if you can figure out a bull, he's living in one big canyon, you can almost find a scrape line, if you will. You know, they like to hit the same rubs. They're always proving their dominance, you know, and it takes till about the middle of September for them to really kick out all the satellite bulls from their area. So early on, it's a bull parade. You know, they're all hitting those same rubs, those same dust bowls, you know, they're going through. So it does translate. Whitetail and elk kind of have the same, you know, they do the same things really.
Now, does it translate in a sense of, I know you could like set up over a water hole per se and sit and wait, but you know, does it translate in the fact that you could set up a tree stand on that scrape line and kind of hunt Midwest whitetail style? Or
absolutely.
Do you guys do much of that? Or
I do a lot of it. Amo does a lot. I'm sure you sat a lot with Amo in a couple spots. Did. It's because he knows those bulls like that path. They use that path from whether it's bedding to water or going to rubs or whatever it is. If you can find their bed, you can find their water and their food source. It's very similar to whitetails. Absolutely.
That's interesting because I've always just assumed, because typically what you see is people chasing, you know, chasing elk. And I wonder how many guys go out west just with that mindset only, like, I got to leave all my, you know, the whitetail stuff. It's a different game. I got to do this new thing.
More turkey hunting style. Yeah,
exactly. And maybe just use the wrong tactics because they think they got to leave all their whitetail tactics behind.
It's how you want to hunt too. You know, it's really fun to go chase bugling bulls, but it's also very hard. You know, they're doing their thing. They're moving around. You're trying to keep up. As soon as you get behind a herd, kiss them goodbye. You're not going to catch back up to them.
Just because they cover too much ground?
They cover way too much ground, and there's so many elk in a herd. As you're trying to sneak in and get to that herd bowl, you can't get past. You're always calling in the satellites, or you're getting busted by cows. So it's how you want to hunt them. And I know a lot of very successful people that hunt tree stands or hunt wallows out of little ground blinds that they built. I mean, some of the biggest bulls in Utah every year get killed sitting in a tree stand or sitting in a ground blind.
I like that. Are satellite bulls, are any of them mature? Or they
Absolutely.
All? Okay.
Yep. It just depends on the area and the density of the herds. You know, if you have a high density herd, there's going to be 5 or 6 mature big bulls in the herd.
Okay.
There's just going to be one. There's always that one dominant bull that wins, that won the fight that day, and he's running the cows, and those other bulls are trying to get in back to him. And that's when you can capitalize and kill a big satellite bull. Is you slip in, throw them a couple of cow calls, and pull them away.
And for someone that may not know, what is the job of the satellite bull? Because you always hear that the satellite bull is out there. It's first, or usually, right? It's like leading,
or in the back. They're like a satellite in orbit. You know, they're just orbiting around everything, and they're not right in the core of the herd. So basically, the satellite bull is just he's trying to be the alpha. You know, he wants to get in and be the dominant bull, but he just can't. The dominant bull's already kicked him off. And
story of my life.
Yeah.
So what's the average age of bull that you guys end up?
8.5.
Yeah.
Is our average bull.
And what's some of the oldest that you guys?
17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
There's been some cows we've killed that we've guessed to be in their 20s.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they live a long time.
That's a long, especially when you consider how rugged that country is to live for 17, 18, 19 years.
There's a lot of resources out there, though, it seems like to me, for them to be able to survive. A lot of, what they graze on and the food source, it's all untouched habitat. And then you guys do a lot of improvement to the habitat, don't you?
And the ranch we're on is a big cattle ranch, but we work together in a sense of rotating the cattle, obviously, so we don't overgraze, all to kind of fit for the deer and the elk. And then we feed during hard winters. We'll go out and feed alfalfa and oats and hay grass. And then the summertime, we're putting tons of mineral out, making sure as soon as they're dropping calves, the cows can get on that mineral and build back up. So.
Okay. Amazing.
What would be one misnomer maybe that people think about going out west or going on an elk hunt or mule deer hunt, something that a preconceived notion that they have about it that just isn't true? You run into that when a guest comes in and, they're wanting to do it a certain way. You're like, no, that's not really how we do it. Is something that keeps popping up over and over?
Trying to think. Not just because social media and TV is out there so much now, everybody thinks they always have to, like what we were just talking about, you always got to chase the bugles, or you always got to spot and stalk the mule deer. There's different tactics, and be open to every tactic. Just like these guys, you guys always are nailing down on different tactics. You got to use your arsenal. So if you're going out with, I'm only going to spot and stalk, or I'm only going to chase bugles, that's going to sometimes limit your opportunity for success.
Yeah. Speaking of limited success, how about the wildlife word? It's brought to you by Muddy Outdoors, home of the highest quality products for serious hunters. One of the fun things for me to do is to go to the Muddy Outdoors website and just scroll through all the accessories that they have.
I want this. If you were my wife, you'd just go ahead and buy it all. Like Amazon style. We'd be getting packages to house that I didn't know we ordered. Look at the credit card and think, what's this?
I tend to get a lot of those at my house.
Yes.
Also, not for me. Today's wildlife word is scarification. So scarification is the A, weakening of a seed coat that encourages germination, or B, the experience of anyone who watches The View. C, the process by which deer antlers form after an injury, or D, both A and B.
Guess always go first. Big A.
I guess on every test that I take, and I always guess A because my name starts with A. So I'm going to go with A.
I like that. Now that's
solid reasoning.
Yeah. Right. 1 out of 4 times. You're
as,
right.
As a Tim, I'm screwed if I follow that.
I have D in my last name, so I'm going to go with D. No. I was going to say A, but I'm going to go with Austin's theory and go with D just for the hell of it.
You guys are both right. Congratulations.
Hey. Ew.
So this happens a lot. This happens a lot when deer ingest mature seed like clover seed. When they digest it, it mechanically removes and like literally scars the seed coat, and it makes it more likely that seed will germinate once they excrete it.
Interesting.
Get in my belly.
And if you watch The View, you will be scarred also psychologically.
Yes.
Because that show sucks.
Hey, before we leave, we got to get the lowdown. So how did you and Taylor meet?
Well, it's pretty simple, really. She came on a antelope hunt. I was actually not supposed to be with her guy. We were with Mossy Oak. That's who was in camp that week. And I was supposed to be with Neil. Well, he was still filming his father, Toxie, and he could not hunt until he was done. So I was just kind of sitting around, and I was like, hey, Dad, there's a cute girl without a guide over there that needs the antelope hunt. I haven't antelope hunted in a couple of years. We might as well give it a try, right? And we hunted for a couple of days together. And
That was Taylor.
Smart.
Obviously.
Well, not.
How'd you figure that
out? Oh, no, I just said something I shouldn't have ruined.
No. And it was funny because I was very nervous. I didn't want to step across the line. I didn't want to disrespect Dad or our partners. You know, that
Toxie.
Yeah. I didn't want to step on any toes. And she would just sit in my passenger seat and stare at my long flowing locks and just was smiling.
At this point, he had really long blonde hair. And
like Point Break.
Yes. Yeah, he could have been.
But a little better.
Wow.
And we hit it off. We got along. We both loved the outdoors. We were having fun hunting, and one thing led to another, and now we're sitting here doing a podcast together.
It all leads to this.
There you go. How many years ago was that?
That was 5 years ago, September of 2015.
Wow.
So what was the conversation like when you guys decided where you would live at? You know, obviously she's from the Midwest, you're out West. Like, what was that conversation like?
It was basically, I can't move with my job. I have to be in Utah. You know, my job is manual labor. I got to physically be there. Mm-hmm. She was more or less, she could do a lot of her stuff on the internet or on her computer. And so that was kind of just, this is what has to happen to make it work for now. And she loves it. She loves Utah, but you never know. We might be back to the Midwest.
Never know.
Super tease.
This guy just passed his real estate exam. So that's a new venture for you, right? Out there, you're going to be a licensed real estate guy out in the state of Utah, correct?
Yep, correct. Yep. So we just started that, and looking forward to it. I just got my first 6 listings. So
really?
Yep.
Hit the ground running. I mean, you just passed the test.
Yep. Here we go. Let's do this.
That's awesome. So it's Whitetail Properties is who you're working for. So that's new for them out there in that state, right?
Yep. They just became a broker in the state of Utah this past summer, first part of the fall.
Yeah.
So
pretty cool. What does Whitetail look like out there?
Non-existent. We don't have whitetails in Utah.
Mule deer.
It's interesting.
Yeah, mule deer, elk, whitetail, they're all the same. I just told you they're the same.
That's right. I didn't take notes.
Any openings down in Texas?
No openings. Nope, we're booked.
Good deal.
Things are good.
Congrats. That's good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, if there ever is an opening, where can people find you?
Instagram. That's probably the easiest place to find mine or Taylor's Instagram. Just reach out to us there and we can go from that point.
All right. Well, anything else to add before we depart?
I have nothing else to say.
All righty.
So I'm not gonna.
All right. Well,
perfect.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for taking Taylor and taking her out to Utah for us. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Shots fired.
Shots fired.
So this is episode 199. Stay tuned next week for episode 200.
You want to punch me right now, but you won't.
Right in the knee.
Right in the nose.
All right. Until next time, appreciate you watching. Peace out.
DeerCast is giving you the chance to hunt with Mark and Terry Drury. Head over to DeerCast.com to enter.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.